Okay, so today's date 1/25/18. Our topic today is going to be solving quadratics in factored form. Okay? And you'll see that's coming up. Factored form's coming up, okay? Now, before we start anything, big star, always two answers. Always two answers. Always, 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 always two answers. Always two answers. X squared, two answers. If it was x cubed, believe it or not, which we will do, three answers. X to the fourth, which we will eventually do, four answers. It's as easy as that. Whatever the exponent is, that's how many answers you'll always have. Now, some of them will be repeat answers like we saw yesterday, but you'll always have two answers. Even with the i's, you'll still have two answers, but we're not going to do I today. We'll do that in a few days. Okay, so example one. I'm going to factor x plus 4, x minus 4, right? Equals 0, right? So factor it. Step one, factor it. Set it equal to 0, factor it, right? Our mini equation is x plus 4 equals 0, x minus 4 equals 0, right? And you're probably skipping the step by now, I'm sure, aren't you? So then, minus 4, one answer is negative 4, plus 4, x equals positive 4. Right? Thumbs up? Okay, now, on the side, I want to show you another question, which is the same question. What if, question mark, I had x squared equals 16. Just, here's what a lot of people will do. They'll give me one answer. They'll give me 4. That's all. I can square root, right? Square root. The answer is x equals 4. And I'd say yes, but where's the other answer, right? And it's got to be, well, we already know what the other answer is. These are the same two questions. This one proves there's two answers, doesn't it? And it proves the negative 4. Because, Claire, if we were brought the 16 back over, it would be this question right here, wouldn't it? Right? So, we know x is equal to also negative 4, right? Now, I like to write this, just because I'm a math guy, and I avoided all the English classes I could possibly avoid. I avoided because I don't like to write. So I would have written like this, x equals plus or minus 4, because it means positive 4 and negative 4, right? Plus or minus means positive 4 and negative 4. That's the way I like to write it, okay? Because it shows both the answers, right? It shows a positive 4, negative 4. For me, I like that better, okay? You can give me both, or you can give me this, okay? Example 2. Okay, now, how many answers? One's going to be a positive, one's going to be a negative, correct? So square root, right? And so I'm going to have x, because the square root cancels the square, equals plus or minus because it's going to be a positive answer, square root of 24. Okay, yeah, that's the right answer, but I would like you to reduce this, okay? I mean, that is the right answer, but we can reduce this. I know that the square root of 24 can be rewritten as the square root of 4 times the square root of 6, and I want to reduce it by finding perfect squares. Remember these? So I'm looking for these numbers. 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, right? Those are my perfect squares. So when I reduce square roots, I'm looking for one of those. So then I get x equals plus or minus 2 square roots of 6, right? I do not want a decimal answer, okay? You will get it wrong. I would take square root of 24. I would not mark that wrong. But I do not. Hold on for a second, Renee, and I'm going to answer your question. I do not want this answer. And I'm going to tell you why. That is not the correct answer. It's rounded, isn't it? In fact, how long does that darn decimal go? Forever. And it never reaches. This is called an irrational number, okay? Irrational numbers never ends. So if you give me this answer, I'll mark it wrong. You go, Miss Davies is right. It's like, nope, it's not. I want to see the last decimal. Impossible to see the last decimal, isn't it? Impossible. Okay? Renee, question.
Never mind.
Okay, good. Okay, how about example 3? What do you think we should do? There's a couple of ways to solve this. I'm going to go plus 20 plus 20. I think this is the easiest way to solve this, okay? So I'll have a 4x squared equals 20, okay? Divide by 4, divide by 4, right? X squared equals 5. So far so good, right? How many answers? 2 answers, square root, square root. So there is no square root of 5, not a good one. Square root of 5 is like 2.24, blah, blah, blah. So we're just going to say plus or minus the square root of 5. We're going to leave it as square root of 5. You cannot reduce it. It won't reduce. It's not one of those perfect square numbers, right? We don't want to use a calculator and give an ugly answer, so it's just square root of 5. And negative square root of 5, right? Okay. Easy so far? You guys agree? Okay, turn the page. All right. All right.
Can't you just square root that?
Yes, yes, yes. Do not do this. Do not do that. Because you can't go bring the square into the plus. You can't do that. But we're going to do what Claire suggested, okay? Claire had a great idea. Claire said, okay, let's just square root it. You guys okay with square root, right? So, say, okay, all right, we're going to square root. Because the square root cancels square, right? Square root. How many answers? 2 answers. So what I get is an x plus 2 equals plus or minus 7, okay? We still have the 2. We square rooted it. Okay, the square got rid of the square root, but I still have the 2. So what I have to get 2 answers is I have a x plus 2 equals 7, and I've got an x plus 2 equals a negative 7. Now this is not a hard problem, but a lot of kids forget to deal with the 2, okay? But you won't, right? So then from here, here's my little mini equations. Minus 2, minus 2. One answer is 5. Minus 2, minus 2. The other answer is negative 9. Let's check it. I want to check this answer, okay? I want to check, because these answers actually make sense if you check it, okay? So think about it. If one answer is 5, I put 5 in here. What's 5 plus 2? Squared. 49. You guys agree? Plug 5 in. 5 plus 2 is 7. 7 squared is 49. Good. That's got to be the answer. How about the negative 9? Well, negative 9 plus 2 is but negative 7 squared is a? So they both work. 2 answers, right? 2 answers. All right. Example 5. Square root, right? So the square will cancel the square root, and we'll be left with an x minus 1 equals plus or minus. 2 answers, right? Plus or minus square root of 24. I can reduce the square root of 24, right? I mean, we know that it was square root of 4, square root of 6, 2 square root of 6, right? Remember doing that? We did that. So what I really have is an x minus 1 equals plus or minus 2 square roots of 6. Okay, all I did was I reduced that 24. Okay, that's all I did, okay? Now, when I add the 1, plus 1, plus 1, can't really add these numbers. This is an irrational number. This is a whole number. You can't really add them. So our answer is actually pretty simple. It's going to be just 1, because I added the 1, plus or minus 2 square roots of 6. And that is 2 answers. Okay, one answer, and I'll write off the side. You don't have to write this. One answer is really 1 plus 2 square roots of 6, and the other answer is 1 minus 2 square roots of 6. Those are my 2 answers, but it's easier to write it as 1 plus or minus because it shows both answers kind of squished, compact, instead of having to write it out, okay? Thumbs up so far? Okay, good. Okay, example 6. What are we going to do? Okay, add 3. So I get a x plus 5 squared equals 11, right? Are we good with that? How many answers? 2, right? So square root. I'll have an x plus 5 equals plus or minus the square root of 11. Now 11's another one of those weird numbers. It doesn't have any good multiples, right? 11, I mean, the multiples of 11 are never going to have any of these, right? So square root of 11 is just square root of 11, okay? On a calculator, it's going to be like 3 point blah, 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 but we don't want that. We just want square root of 11. Okay, now we're going to go minus 5, minus 5. You can't add or subtract those because this is a irrational number and this is a integer, so our answer is going to be x equals negative 5 because I subtracted the 5 plus or minus the square root of 11. And that is two answers, right? Because it really is a negative 5 plus the square root of 11, and it really is negative 5 subtract the square root of 11, okay?
Hey, Davey, can you write that as negative 11 plus or minus negative 5? No.
No, you can, but don't forget you got to go plus or minus square root of 11 minus 5. Yes.
Yeah, because that would like,
Do you like that better?
yeah.
They're both correct. Which one do you, which, I don't care.
Yeah, because then because when you get that irrational number, it had a negative, okay, it makes sense.
Yep, got it? Okay. All right. All right, example 7. I threw this one in there just to make sure that we didn't forget what we did yesterday, huh? So, I mean, if you square root both sides right now, it's not going to work. So, hey, you know, I'll square root. You guys with me? Square root. It's not going to work, is it? No. So it's yesterday's stuff, okay? Do you remember what we did yesterday? Okay, if we want to factor this, right? We do want to factor. So if we want to factor, let's bring this back over and bring that back. Because if we want to factor it, let's bring it back over. So I have a 2x squared minus 11x, because I have to subtract it to bring it over, right? And plus 5 equals 0, right? Equals 0 because we brought everything over, okay? This is yesterday's stuff. It's just a little review of what we did yesterday, right? Okay, factor. Okay, Tamley, I'm going to answer your question. We're going to have to do the double smiley because there's a number there, right? Because the 11 isn't easy to find unless you do the double smiley. Okay, 2x, x. You guys agree? It's the only way you can make a 2x squared. 5 and 1, but I got to be careful. I'm going to put the 5 here and the 1 here because I can see already there's my 10. See my 10, and there's my 1, right? See my 10 and my 1, which will make it 11, but I need a negative 11, so I'm going to go minus, minus, okay? That'll make a negative 10 and a negative 1. Makes my negative 11, okay? Now we're not done. We need to find our two answers, right? We need to find two answers, so we have our mini equations. 2x minus 1 equals 0, and x minus 5 equals 0. Plus 1, 2x equals 1. Divide by 2, 1/2. Or 0.5, right? Plus 5, x equals 5.
I found another way you could factor it.
How?
Negative 2x plus 1 times x minus 5.
Would you say that again?
Negative 2x plus 1 times x minus 5. I got those answers. I don't know if I made a mistake when I was...
You said...
Negative 2x plus 1 times x minus 5.
I think that will work because you put the negative here. Yeah, that will work. Okay, Claire, let me stop recording. I'll show you exactly what you did.